Right, we're getting into a conversation this hour that comes off of news that we saw lifting off a couple of weeks ago. But we're getting into that because beyond the headline, it's an issue in very many the lives of students in school. Helping us out with that conversation this morning, we are looking into issues surrounding young girls in school. But then we're also beyond that looking at protection of children. Eunice Kilundo is the Child Protection and Advocacy Manager at Child Fund Kenya. She's here with us this morning. Eunice, good morning.
Good morning.
Joining us as well is Marlene Walubengo, who is a Child Protection and Advocacy Manager. I beg your pardon, I'm going to take that again. Joining us also is Marlene Walubengo, and she joins us as a reproductive health specialist, Mary Stopes, and she joins this discussion with Eunice. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
As we get into this conversation, Dennis is going to welcome you with today's proverb. We'd like to hear what you think about it and interpret that for us. Marlene is smiling because she's already prepared. Okay, let's go.
So today we are in Zambia, South Africa, SADC region. And let's just talk about what it is known for, right? So we talk about their industries, and majority of it is mining. So they are one of the biggest producers of copper in the world. So we talk about electricity and whatnot. Thanks, Zambia. But then again, there is one thing that is common with them. So their staple food is called shima. Shima okari, sima and shima. So it's from
Sembe.
It is. Ugali, yeah. So it's called shima there. And you know the currency?
Kwacha.
Kwacha. How is it written?
Kwacha.
ZMW. You know Kenya shillings KES. ZMW.
What?
So when you see ZMW, just
the initials ZMW.
Yes. Zambian kwacha.
I was in Zambia a long time ago when President Sata just passed.
Okay.
Yeah, went to Hero Stadium for his funeral. And there was a community. I don't believe I can't imagine I was ever going to say this. I can't remember whether I did. I stayed in some fancy boutique hotel where they were serving us just European cuisine.
Sorry.
So I mean that's where we were staying.
So let's go to the proverb, right? So the proverb, what you wear is known by the arm. What you wear is known by the arm. How would you interpret that?
What you wear, it's all
is known by your
known
arm.
by your arm.
Yes.
Could it be the jewelries that we put on our hands? The value that has on it? It's more of watches could be the most expensive jewelry and rings. Yeah.
How would that interpret who you are? What does that say of who you are?
Elegance. Yeah.
Elegance, like Okari, boutique hotels. How would you interpret our proverb today? What you wear is known by the arm.
Wow, that's a really challenging one. But just like my colleague says, your arm could tell probably your social kind of status or something. It talks about who you really are. And so because in the African setting, dressing is dictated by your social status or your position in the society. So when you extend your arm, it shows what you're wearing, and it can tell much about you.
Yeah. We've actually seen that happen a lot. Murkomen, President William Ruto, and what they wear on their arms.
Trust you not to let that go.
Exactly.
All right. Great looking into some of these interpretations, and it's good to hear from people, because then you're able to actually think about it in a different light. And I think that's the wonderful thing about the human mind and how it works. We're looking at a conversation today with, when we read this a couple of weeks ago, and I think we were met with surprise, and we're asking ourselves, how on earth do we allow this to happen? So testing girls for pregnancy when they go to school, and the manner in which they are tested, for many have been said that it is, number one, it is grotesque, it's an invasion of rights. Do schools actually have rights to do this under the auspices of head teachers and deputy and head teachers? Should it be your we're even going to the place where we're starting to ask, should it be your business what is going on the inside of a student as they report to school? Okay, let's start off with you, Marlene. Should we have been surprised at what we saw? Is this a necessity when reporting to school, especially boarding schools now? And we're looking at girls specifically. So there were two things that were being looked for. Number one, pregnancy, and number two, in some extreme cases, whether these girls were still virgins. Now, should this be something that we should be dealing with at school?
In a school setup, it should be a no, because every individual has their ethical and like legal rights. And doing, for instance, a pregnancy test is like invading someone's privacy. So for one, that was they invaded their privacy. And number two, they should have given consent, either parental or as an individual. The students themselves should have given consent on having the test done. Checking on if someone is virgin or not as well shouldn't have been done in school, and for some reason either they will have involved their parents or have the process done through a healthcare provider. Yeah.
Why would it matter at school?
Sorry?
Why would that status matter in a school setting?
Because now looking at the child's side, it's one it's intimidating them. One will feel intimidated. For instance, if you're not a virgin, yet everyone in your class is a virgin, I'm sure they might feel intimidated, and it might affect their performance in school. Yeah, so I feel it's not right for them to be have that test done.
Eunice?
Yes.
When you talk about this test being done in school, so you find it's a teacher who is a guidance and counseling teacher who's been given the role of undertaking these tests. So they are not a healthcare professional. But then again, it is said it is a school policy. But then again, there is nowhere that is written down. It's just something that happens. And parents, students have been preconditioned to imagine that it is okay for this to happen. Why has that been the case?
Well, you rightfully put it that it's not policy. And the big question to ask is, what's the rationale? Why would they find it necessary and important to undertake these tests? One, I want to say that it's actually prohibited by law. In the Children Act, Section 27, it outlaws those kind of acts because it talks about children's right to their privacy. And in fact, it includes the protection from attacks on their honor and reputation. That's what it says. And so doing this is contravening the law. It's also contravening the Data Protection Act, I think Section 33, which talks about guarding children's privacy. And if that has to be done, it has to be done through informed consent. I want to underscore the word informed consent. Informed, meaning that the child must know and understand why this is happening and accept and consent, because it's called consent. They must accept that it should be done to them. So it contravenes the law. It has no rationale whatsoever. I don't understand why it has to be done. And if it is and again, this kind of test, like your colleague put it, is invasive. And this is a test that can change a child's life forever. When HIV test is being done, counseling precedes that test. Why? Because this is a test that potentially could change the life of this individual. A pregnancy test, if a child is found pregnant, that means their life takes a different direction. There is need for preparation to do that if it is necessary to do it. Again, in the Children Act, it talks about a child being below the age of any individual below the age of 18. And so consent has to be obtained from their parent. And so I I don't see parents coming in the picture. This happens at school with the school administration and the child. But then again, I want to also talk about parents consenting, because sometimes even the parents could be coerced to consent. So I want to talk about the best interest of the child principle. Best interest of the child principle with regard to consenting: the child must consent, must understand and accept. But again, everything that is done to a child must consider whether this is for the good of the child and whether the child is for it. So that is what I really want to underscore.
But it's clear that from a lot of these practices, the interest of or the desire of the child is not taken into consideration. We're already getting comments here where people are telling us, well, in my school, I was asked to go to the matron's office and lie down and they feel my tummy, or they're asked to essentially take a urine test, testing for pregnancy. It's not. Is it about that child? So then what happens? If you find out this child is pregnant, what happens to her? So is it really about the interest of the child, or there is no... Because this being a medical physiological issue is also a social justice issue as well. So what happens to that child? Is she then sent home? Is she then ostracized? For whose interest would this be done in the first place? And that continues to be my question. Why do you want to know? Really? Because what bearing does it have? And I'm pushing somewhere. I'm trying to get that. Why would we have stories of school head after school head after school head demanding and or acquiescing to this taking place at school? For what? Why?
Well, that question beats everyone. I don't understand why it has to be done. The only reason that I can think of is the schools wanting to weed out girls who are pregnant, probably so that they don't contaminate, so to speak, quote unquote, contaminate other children in the school, and
if
so
they're
that
pregnant,
probably,
it's not infectious. But okay,
yeah, that's the point. Is it infectious? Is it like COVID, that if the child stays in school, they are going to infect others? Is it going to affect the rights of other children in the school? Because if it is, for example, as I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking of things that could, someone could be where their privacy can, you can be coerced to, for people to get into your privacy. Like when we were in school, if something is stolen in the dorm, you will be forced to open your box so that whatever has been stolen, when they're looking for what has been stolen, that's privacy being invaded, because whatever activity it is, you're looking for something belonging to another person, but this is your body. It is not going to your pregnancy will not interfere with anybody else's life. And so just like the law puts it, it's against the law. Even the Basic Education Act, does not really give any permission to do that, and it doesn't infringe on anybody else's privacy. There is no preparation, whether they feel it's right or not. There is no preparation done to do this kind of test. The nurse who comes to do it just gives the results to the administration to do with it whatever they want to do with it. This child is obviously sent home. No preparation is done at the home front to receive this girl, and counseling for the parents. Pregnancy, we all know, affects everybody, does not just affect the child. First of all, this child's life trajectory has changed. Their dreams are shattered, and even if school re-entry policy is in place, the very act of doing this test and ostracizing the child and sending them away from school makes the school a place where the child does not want to come back to. So the school re-entry policy, again, does not, the way that child is handled, then they don't enjoy the school re-entry policy.
Eunice, is the question then how this is done and the process? Or I'm just trying to think, if I'm to play the other side, I'm just trying to think, why would a school want then to know if a child is pregnant? And I'm just trying to imagine, if then this girl is pregnant, she's coming to school, then it puts her in a different health category, in my understanding, and their safety concerns, their health concerns. Typically in a school, you'll go do sports, you'll do games, and sometimes it's like compulsory. You will either be standing in parades, you'll be expected to perform in your academics to a certain level, attending class sessions normally. So if then the school doesn't know if a girl is pregnant, there are consequences. So is it precautionary so that the school then is able to know this is how we need to handle this student, either counsel, offer some support to the girl, or just making sure that they get timely medical attention? What do you think?
I'm not persuaded that
Why?
I'm not persuaded that there is good intention or goodwill or thinking about the child's safety, because if a girl is found pregnant, are there measures being taken by the school to retain the child there, keep them away from the strenuous activities? Is there such goodwill? What we know is that once a child is found pregnant, they are sent home.
Just go home.
So it beats. I mean, if it's in the interest of ensuring the child is safe, then they should keep the child there and support even other children to be able to coexist with this child well.
Is it then a moral issue for the school, or is it a liability, trying to avoid, in the event something happens to this girl, then it becomes a court case. Now you're not dealing with just any other child. This is a child who's carrying a baby.
Well, again, what I want to say is that if it has to be done for whatever reason that it has to be done, there must be informed consent. And this is something that requires a lot of preparation. It's not just, girls lining up and the test is done and nothing else is done after that. There must be prior preparation. Like, we are going to undertake a pregnancy test on you because we must for these specific reasons. And this test could mean your life changes, because being pregnant, we are talking to a 13, 14-year-old girl. They don't even figure out what implications being pregnant could have. So this kind of preparation needs to be done. And also that's prior. After the test, there's need for interventions in terms of how is this girl going to be supported to come to terms with what has happened, to decide what will happen. Because some children may decide, I'm not going to stay in school, I'll go home. And now, when they go home, is the parent ready to receive them? We know in the traditional African culture, this is something very serious. She may be chased away by the father together with the mother and all that, and that means the home is broken. So we are talking serious business here. It's not a simple test that, once the test results come, then, everybody goes on to moving on with their life. Again, even if the test is not going to be positive, there is that sense of betrayal that the child feels. There is loss of trust. Why are they doing this on me? Why don't they trust me? Why do they have to, to go all this way just to check whether I'm pregnant or not? So the school becomes, they lose trust. And sometimes I think, when there were the trends of the school fires and everything, the fact that children are not involved in some of these things that entail their lives could be, the fact that they're not consulted, and even in this and other things could even be the reason why some of these school fires were happening, because the child, as a cry for help, as a way of saying we want to be heard. So
there is the aspect of, you've talked about consent, and there's a question of this is a child, but you find in some instances that a parent agrees to what is happening, consents that their children be able to undergo these tests. But then there is also the other aspect of the child's rights and also the informed consent that they need to undertake. So Marlene, if a parent says it is okay, you go ahead, but the child says no, what's that situation like? Because the parent then says, this is my child, they're still under my care.
So
the parents have a right to make a decision over a child in such matters?
Yeah, they do, because they are they are looked as the bigger picture in their child's rights, and there's that assumption that the parent has the best interest of their child in their minds. So you'll find a child will have to oblige to what a parent has consented to, with little knowledge that he or she can also make her own informed decision, or just to give consent to a certain idea. Yeah.
This is all coming from the place that that pregnancy for a child, or pregnancy outside of a marriage relationship, is still heavily frowned upon, right?
Yeah.
That one could imagine that this is where all of this is coming from. More so in a school setting, that you don't want school administrations, all again birthing from this overall idea, is that you don't want girls of school-going age to be in school when they're pregnant. Is that a safe place to start this conversation from, with that overall intent? Is that a safe place to start, or we don't deal with that at all?
It ain't a safe place, but I'm also thinking at around that stage, the child tries to learn from the other, from what they are seeing their peers are doing. So you can imagine if a girl will see a certain girl being kept in school because she's pregnant, she'll also have that assumption that it's also right for her, or there is something that she's not doing to be the same as this girl. You know, the saying they say that when one potato is spoils, it can spoil the others in the sack. So this girl can influence the others, and they might think also getting pregnant while in school is the to-go thing.
I mean, Marlene,
Eunice is about to blow a gasket. He's about to blow a gasket.
You want to respond?
Yes, I
just
do.
respond before I
Yes,
ask Marlene my question.
Because retaining a child in school when they are pregnant, to the girl themselves, is not easy for her. Because on one hand, she's here trying to struggle with her studies. On the other hand, she's here dealing with the discomforts in the body that pregnancy brings with it. And let's face it, really. Being in school will not make other girls feel like it's okay to be pregnant in school. They can see the struggles that she's going through. They are empathizing with her, and if she stays there and they can see what the struggles the struggles that she's going through, naturally it will. In terms of influencing them, she will influence them positively, because they will not want to also go through the struggles she's going through. So why I'm not really in agreement with that is that pregnancy is not eating cake. Pregnancy is difficult, and the difficulties she's going through will positively influence the others not to follow that path. So, and also it will, much as they will not want to follow that path, the decision not to follow that path will make them be more careful in their lives. So I don't think it will, I don't even want to look at her as a rotten potato. Yeah, no, I think that would be looking at her very negatively, because we know, I believe it's not even the bad girls who get pregnant. The bad girls know what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and on that note, Marlene, I'm assuming you've had conversations with these girls because you're a reproductive specialist. At their age, and in this case, you're talking about now a pregnancy case, without the testing for other things. Do they really grasp or understand what's going on with them? Do they fully understand?
They don't. Yeah, most of them, they lack information they lack the understanding of what is happening when someone is pregnant. They don't have an understanding completely. Yeah.
And so, as a specialist, you're talking to this child. How do you have a conversation with them beyond now this is what's going to happen for you? I mean, it's difficult to have conversations around semesters with the child. How do you sit down then to explain that this is what's happening to you, and this is how you can get exploited, and this is what you need to keep, this is what is within your rights, to just explain to them that this is your privacy? How do you have that conversation?
So we are trying to enlighten the schoolgirls, and as an organization, we have come up with a curriculum that the Ministry of Health, in conjunction with the Ministry of Education, have come together just to give it an approval that we are giving this girl the information that they need during before they, for instance, before they get to have the teenage pregnancy, and also when they're in that stage, like what do they have to do, what is needed of them, and if they are to seek health information and how to go to the hospital. So we just ensure that we are holding their hand and just ensuring that they are getting the best service, just as any other woman who might be in that situation.
And Eunice, I just want to go to that point where we say, okay, this is coming from, is the place where it's coming from a safe place to start from? And I ask this because, again, let's look at I don't know of in a parental situation where a parent would not be in shock if her 15-year-old girl came home and she was pregnant. The first feeling would be shock. And that shock is born from still frowning as community or as society on a young girl coming home pregnant, or for that matter, a young boy impregnating her. This is it. So is that space where we're not quite sure what to do with this thing, is that still a safe space to come from before we talk about these policies which are contravening rights?
Safe space in terms of the school making the decision.
Is it understandable why folks would be a bit worried as to whether or not a girl was pregnant? Is it understandable that somebody has that fear or somebody has that care or concern?
Yes, it's perfectly understandable because, of course, everybody, the parents, the child, they all have their dreams. The parent has dreams about the child. You know, being pregnant is not part of what they envision in the life of their child.
At that age.
At that age. The child, after being, exposing themselves to what led to this, did not, because at 14, they hardly ever think about the consequences of some of these actions. So it is not really, I wouldn't call it a safe space. I would call it a challenge that had not been anticipated. And so that is why I was actually talking about prior preparation. If bringing these children together and telling them we're planning to undertake this test for these particular reasons. We feel it's important to undertake them. First, do you accept? Because if they don't accept, doesn't matter whether the parent consented. Actually, I just want to correct the fact that what was shared earlier, that if the parent consents, then the child has no option. That is not the case, and it's against the law. Actually, the child must, I want to underscore informed, meaning they must know why it is being done, and over and above that, they must accept that it should be done after they are convinced that the reason that is being done is okay. And so I'm talking about the prior preparation that needs to be done, not only to the child, but even on the parent. And I gave a good example of an HIV/AIDS test. When someone is going in there, they are prepared because it could mean a total change to their lives. I believe that even a pregnancy test, if it has to be done within that kind of safety.
Okay, so she is found to be pregnant. In almost all cases, just from research that we've seen and found as of this morning, in almost all cases when a girl of school-going age, and this is usually in secondary school and in a boarding setting, usually, she will be asked to go home. Her parents will be called if that provides for, and she will be asked to go home. In some cases, they say, okay, when it's time for you to have the baby, you can go. Re-entry also that you talked about, after having the baby, then come back. But in what we are seeing now as 94% of the cases where a girl has been found to be pregnant in a secondary school setting, she's asked to go home. She cannot continue with school at that point, almost as though it was a punishment for what she was doing. Is that?
No, not almost. It's a punishment. It's actually a punishment because the school has become a no-go for her. Naturally, the home also, if the parents are not well informed and they are not empathetic enough, also almost becomes a no-go. It becomes another battleground because here she arrives, she's pregnant, they have to come to terms with it. Some never ever get to come to terms with it. The dad may decide to disappear for a whole week. Gender-based violence may result out of this, and so many other things may happen.
But we're being told that the reason why schools will send them home is because you can imagine what a pregnant woman requires in terms of care and support. It's a lot. So the school is not able to provide this for this girl, and that's why in most cases she's asked to go home. True? No?
Yeah, in almost all cases, she's asked to go home. Or she could even choose to go home because of the hostility that she's facing within the school environment. You know, teachers giving... We all know the experiences that we had with teachers. Hata kabla hujafanya kitu anakuita ng'ombe. Na je ukifanya kitu. Ng'ombe kubwa. So you can imagine, you know, giving other students examples of, wewe ukiendelea hivyo utakuwa kama fulani. Na fulani mwenyewe yuko hapo tu kwa shule. You know, if maybe you have a few enemies in school, you are passing, they are laughing and everything. So the school becomes hostile, the home becomes hostile. And so this child may result to even looking for ways of aborting. Some have even committed suicide. These are studies that need to be done. Let's not just look at how many girls are pregnant. Let's also look at what, how many, the effect, Nancy, and how many transition from school and all that. Let's take the research deeper so that we are able to also bring out the issues that are affecting these children and how many transition actually.
Let's do it then. Let's look deeper. Let's look further. If we want to look at the region, Kenya has the highest number of girls getting pregnant and growing up and getting into a single mother status. Highest number of school-going girls who get pregnant in the East Africa region. Highest. During COVID, we saw upwards of 10,000 girls in a year get pregnant of school-going age. So one must ask the question, number one, what's happening? If we want to go deeper and say, is there an issue? Is there a problem? Is there lack of understanding? Is there no sex and sexual education taking place? Do young people not understand exactly what is happening? For us to see such high numbers, for us to say that 9,000 girls were not going to be able to go back to school come 2020 September when the floodgates were opened after COVID. Is there a problem, Marlene?
Yeah, there is a problem. And I understand, like now from a health perspective, there's a unmet need when it comes to contraceptives. You'll find so many girls are not, they don't have information about contraceptive, and there are a lot of myths and misconceptions about it. And now this makes them they become like a victim of teenage pregnancies because they lack to get that service, or they lack information on how to get access to that service.
Eunice,
yes.
So let's talk about where we find ourselves in. So she's talked about contraception and the fact that girls do not have this information, which brings us to the conversation of sex education in school, and if at all that should be part and parcel of the curriculum. Will that help anything? And then again, we also come to the aspect that we know that there is a possibility that there could be a girl, one or two in a school that might be pregnant. It is based off history that could happen. So are we preparing our schools for whenever this happens, what to do, that schools are able to take care of these girls while in school, knowing that once a girl is pregnant, there is much more that needs to be done to be able to maintain them in school and not send them away. And then again, there is the aspect of this girl is pregnant. there is a boy somewhere who got her pregnant. Are we having these conversations as well with the boy child to know exactly what it means to be a young parent, so that we not only focus on girls not getting pregnant, but we also focus on these boys that
not
are getting them pregnant, not getting them pregnant, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, precisely. You put it very well. At the school front, that needs to be in place. No doubt that should actually be in place. One, to help this girl who is already pregnant. There must be mechanisms to support this girl who is already pregnant. One, to help her be comfortable in her status, because this is not reversible. So to help her move on with her life and pursue her dreams, to help her dreams not die, so to speak. And also to help the rest, know how to, life skills. Life skills is part of the school curriculum where children are helped to understand, to say no, to make decisions. This is very important and critical as a child grows up. But beyond the school, I also want to talk about the home front. The mentality of not spending time with our children, the mentality of just feeling like, over the weekends, instead of spending time with your girls, your children, you want to go out with the girls, quote unquote. You prefer to go out with your girls
than your girls.
So that is really worrying, because children close school and they hardly ever see their parents. Yesteryears we used to have grandmothers talking to their young girls and all. Now we don't have grandmothers anymore. Children are bringing themselves up. Internet is bringing up our children. So spending time with our children, having family time. And even fathers talking to their daughters, because sometimes fathers behave like they are only supposed to provide for the family. They hardly ever talk to their sons or even their daughters and all that. So I'm looking at it both at the school front and at the home front. Children need to be cared for. They need to be heard. They need to be, we need to help them navigate the various milestones in their lives, so that they don't grow up feeling independent and feeling that they don't need you. Let internet not answer the questions that parents should be answering.
Guys, I've just realized we're having this conversation starts from the point of you have a child in school. This thing follows you up even when you're actually employed and you don't notice your privacy is being invaded. I've just remembered, and there are companies that today, and I know there are people who will actually say this has happened, where you are getting employed. As you're signing your contract, you're told, as part of signing the contract, go to a medical facility, go get checked so that you're fit for the job.
How? Checked for what?
Just a medical checkup. And so what will happen, and I've gone through this myself, so what will happen is they will test urine, your poop, they will take blood samples. So they're testing for various things, so that are you able to go to the field and really carry a tripod and a camera? Are you going to withstand this? Are you going to do this? And so these records, I'm telling you, I've just remembered this. Yeah. And these medical records are sent directly to HR. You don't get to see the records. So even if it's your HIV status, you don't get to know. The records are sent to HR. There are many companies that are actually doing that to employees, where you're told first, before you start your day, go get this medical checkup, so you're certified everything is okay with you before you join the company.
One notorious industry is especially the aviation, where you get pregnant, you might as well kiss goodbye to you being a flight attendant, because then again you can't work in a plane and whatnot.
You have to look a certain way, I guess. So are we looking at policies that are infringing on rights across board, from when we start in school or we get up until that age? How should the school, let's go back to this underage pregnant girl, because a 14-year-old, honestly speaking, that is essentially still a baby, physiologically carrying another baby. And we want to also look at the social issues that come. Of course, there's the shunning, there's the ostracization, all of that takes place. How should a school deal with that? And we're not saying that if we're saying you're not going to go do a random check, like everybody line up here to pick up your shirt and get your pregnancy test, that kind of thing. But should they find out that this is the case, how should a school handle these matters?
Marlene, you want to go? Let me
go first.
Yeah. I think if a pregnancy test has to be done for some reasons that he mentioned, maybe for the protection of the child needs to be informed and let it be voluntary. Like let the child themselves, be prepared enough to even consent to the pregnancy test. The Ministry of Education has the guidance and counseling policy, and there's usually the guidance and counseling teacher, and I think that's part of what that teacher needs to be done. Testing pregnancy for safety and protection of the child within the school needs to be communicated very well to the child, that why we are doing this testing is so that we are able to not to, we protect you, we don't expose you to probably hard tasks that could put you at health risk and all that, and then undertake the test if that is very necessary. But also the implications of this kind of disclosure to the child, and by extension the bulging pregnancy implications to the rest of the school also need to be discussed, so that the child is prepared for this and the rest of the students are also prepared. But in terms of policies, I think the Ministry of Education has a guidance and counseling policy to help through this. Many of these things are in policy, but the problem is the implementation of the policy or the practice.
If they knew, would it be better? If they knew that this is the policy that the school has taken and this is a requirement that they have. I mean, there's certain schools that have certain rules, right? Mm-hmm. If it was pre-communicated that this is going to happen every term when you come back, matters of privacy and all of these things taken into consideration, would it then be acceptable?
If
Marlene?
both parties are involved, yes, it is.
It is acceptable.
Yeah.
Eunice?
Well, I want to talk about the best interest of the child here, and informed consent. So if the test is being done in consideration of the best interest of the child, if the test is being done after informed consent, then I think if the reasons are good enough, then it could be acceptable.
What if a school comes with a policy? Anytime you join, there is what is written down, and you're told as a parent and the student that every new term these will be done. Sign on this dotted page if you want it. No, if not, leave.
Then that is contravening the rights of the child, because a child cannot be coerced into a pregnancy test or any test that invades on their privacy, according to the Children Act, Section 27. So those guidelines and rules are outlawed. So the school really need to be put to task for coming up with laws like that, because that's a way of coercing the children to, to consent to things because they have no other option, because they want to be in the school. So such guidelines should not exist according to the law.
Where do you see a challenge where you have a lot of schools that are faith-based and religion then comes into play, where you'll find the conversation around discipline and the conversation around you cannot have topics around sex and contraceptions with children. You just cannot. So what happens in situations where there's that conflict of you now have, it's a question of faith versus morality. Should there be a standard policy that cuts across both, in your opinion?
Yes, the curriculum needs to play a role in coming up or having the stakeholders know of the policies that exist. Then in cases of whereby we are having religious values or morals that are against what the policy is, now that is where others other people come in. But we need to have these policies known. And now, in that case, the faith-based also need to come up with moral value topics that they need to share with these children, so that they are aware of what the policy says and what the moral have for them to do, and just to put it together.
Eunice?
Well, I believe these institutions, especially the faith-based learning institutions and all, of course, why we call them faith-based is because they have their own kind of restriction, faith-related restrictions to various things. So I wouldn't interfere. They say your right ends where another person's right begins, something like that. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't really probably blame them so much for coming up with stringent policies or even guidelines around whoever is interested in joining their institution. But like you said, there are standardized, based on Ministry of Education guidelines. There are those that are standardized so that the religious, the faith-based institutions do not put such prohibitive kind of restrictions to who should join their institution. But again, if they really want those who join to subscribe to very fundamental principles that the faith holds dear, then I don't think that can be interfered with, because again, we have the right to choose whether to subscribe to an institution that is strict on certain social issues, and we also have options to go to institutions that do not do that. So that is really 50-50 to me.
Indeed. Look, I mean, when it comes out into the news, where we're very aware that some of these things are actually happening, that there's many who've passed through these halls, and unfortunately rights have been abrogated, and in terms of where they find some kind of justice, it kind of flies out the window, which is why it's important for us to talk about these things. If anything, lifting the lid on any kind of lack of information or none information, and very happy that you had this conversation with us both this morning. It's our hope that we make these things more known, put them out in the open, and if they're not comfortable, we afflict them. If they're afflicted, we make them comfortable. Eunice Kilundo and Marlene Walubengo, thank you so much for being here with us this morning and sharing this conversation with us.
Thank you as well for inviting us.
Thank you for making it part of your morning. The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. We continue again tomorrow, God willing. Have a wonderful day.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.